All right, episode 5 with Gav Aitkins. We are currently talking finances because Gav is actually a financial advisor by day. Actually, no, Gav is he's a professional athlete by day, and he's a professional athlete by 9:15. And then actually, we need to just check. Have you got a green light on? Because we had a problem with Desi. All right, so we're gonna have a problem. Lucky Gav hasn't talked yet. Gav has a green light. Green light for Gav. Anyway,
I can speak now.
Yeah, you can speak now. Yeah, so Gav is a financial advisor, but a 9:15er, father of 2, dog dad of 1,
Yep.
husband to only 1 wife, which is always beneficial and helpful, and no girlfriends. So yeah, don't worry, we're not going to pimp you out and try and get you any more girlfriends. So what we're talking about at the moment, like we've been talking finances. So Gav's a financial advisor. I'm a guy who doesn't have very good finances. And we're just chit-chatting about sort of mortgage offsets and stuff like that. What got you, we'll go in properly. So what got you into finances originally? How long have you been doing finances yourself?
So I've been a financial planner for coming on 11 years now. I actually failed finance in school. I failed maths in high school. So I was horrible at maths. I finished my degree.
We'll discuss that further too, because I have a very tight opinion about maths in high school. But yeah, go on, continue.
So I went and did my degree in commerce, human resource management, and was a recruiter for a few years back in 2010. Had a gut full of that, and I thought, well, where's a nice stable position to cut my teeth in a career change? And it was a bank. I fucking hated it. I hated working in a bank, but it was good grounding for finance and learning how to lend money, manage money, and protect people's money. So that's where I sort of fell into finance. And then by having a natural gift of dealing with people and speaking to people and connecting with people, I kind of just learnt the finance on the fly. And here I am 11 years later, self-employed, doing it for a living.
So here's a random question, because we even had this yesterday. So we go to the mortgage lady yesterday, and she says, I have this argument which we were sort of talking about just then between me and Gav, where I look at my wife and she's made a decision and I didn't know about the decision, blah, 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 anyway, crossfire. And Matty goes, I wasn't good at maths in high school. And I was good at maths at high school. But I think the one thing which I think is worth discussing now, knowing that you didn't do well at maths in high school, is that maths, I believe, in my head, you do learn some basic financials in regards to mathematics. If you don't pay attention to mathematics in high school, you're going to definitely have a hard time. But finances are a lot different, right? Because obviously, if you've got $100 and you spend $110, you somehow magically need to find that $10 from somewhere. Most people in their heads will go, all right, well, I need a credit card. That credit card's going to give me free interest for 12 months. So in turn, I can then have $5,000 when all I need is $110. Boom, boom, boom. 12 months later, you're paying like a 13% interest or some bullshit like that, right? So how do you go from not being good at maths to then getting into it and then being like, okay, now you're professionally a financial person, right? Like, I figure, yeah, exactly.
Let me clarify that for you. So with the failing of maths, it was like calculus, quadratics, it was Pythagoras' theorem, all shit that we don't use. Like, honestly,
but that stuff's not going to be important anyways, right? Like at that point, you're a teenager, so you're going,
why am I measuring?
Why am I here? Yeah.
But I've always been good at practical maths. So like mental maths, times tables, I knew them rote from a young age. So like I always had an interest in that. When I was studying at uni, I worked in a bottle shop, and back in those days, like 02, 03 it was, they didn't have digitized cash registers.
Yes.
So it was all here. So I was the cash register guy, calculating this stuff mentally. So while I was studying, I'm learning this shit on the fly. I'm like, cool. That's where the basic skill set of maths came to me from a calculation perspective. But now financial planning or financial advice isn't just about talking numbers with people. It's about talking about what the future goal is, what's important to them, and how to facilitate that goal. The money, the cash, the assets is all the stuff in the background. I've got a very good team that can help do that. But it's about
Wait, didn't you just sponsor the most recent
Yes.
downside? Anyway, sorry, yeah, continue.
Yeah, we did.
Shameless plug.
No, of
Wealth
course.
Collective.
Wealth Collective, financial advice.
Yeah. That might spin across the screen at this point. Yeah.
But it's more so about how to connect with people and just link their goals to what's important to them.
Because how many people are getting really bad financial advice? I feel like most people's financial advice is from the guy across the road table from them. Sorry, they're having a few beers, and then someone says to them, "Man, you should just pay your mortgage. Like all your life should be is get rid of your mortgage, right?" And which is what we were talking about just then.
Yep.
Because I personally don't agree with that. I'm like, well, this offset account thing and stuff, and we won't get into that too much, but too many people are getting advice like, oh man, the amount of people that say to us like, why is that not a tax deduction in your business? Why is that not a tax deduction in your business? Why you set up your company that way? It's like, well, because we went and got advice. And they're like, well, we just decided to do it this way. So hang on, I went and got advice from a business manager or a business advisor who said, set it up this way, and then, it works for us, and we never obviously chirped that this is the best way to do it. But how many people are coming to you with like advice that just flat out you're like, bro, what is the math on that?
Sometimes I get bamboozled. A lot of it is these Facebook videos on what the latest cryptocurrency is doing. Water cooler chat, barbecue. My mate said this. Go and invest in this share. Check this out in the ASX. It's, in my opinion, it's a spattergun approach. You're just shooting it, hoping some shit will stick on a stick. And
I feel like crypto to you is like ketogenic diets for us.
A little bit like that.
And look, it's people are like, I do crypto, and you're like,
I try not to cringe, and quite often I'm doing a digital, like a video call with clients. I try not to cringe too much, but I'm like, oh well, that's not regulated in our market yet, so ASIC don't have their hands on it, so I can't give you advice on that. So I have to be quite diplomatic when I'm giving advice. But whenever a client will come to me with a theory, won't shut it down. I'll just talk them through it generally and just flesh out where they got that idea from. And if
because stocks would be hard like that too, right? Like someone could say, like my mate just said, I should buy Bamboozle 3000, which is a brand new gold mine that's going to open near Kalgoorlie, right? Just for the record, that's all completely made up and fictitious. And then you're like, they're like, I've got 100 grand. They probably don't do that. It's probably 10,000. And then you're like, oh,
what I'll do.
I figure like you would static, right? Like you would just go like, hey, I don't know that company. I don't have the background. They're like, should I do it? And you're like, again, same thing. Someone be's all like, hey, I know a guy that just started carnivore where all he does is eat chicken. And you're like, hang on. So not only does he only just do carnivore, now he only eats chicken. And you want me to comment on that sort of thing? It'd be absolutely ball busting.
Big time. It 100% just bamboozles me sometimes with that. It's just an approaching. Oh well, I have to be diplomatic here. I have to think it through. But generally, I'll direct that client with Bamboozle, Gold, whatever it is. Go onto the easiest thing you've got on your phone is a stock app, and you go into that and you plug in the code. And they're like, whoa, this is new for me. The code, what is it? Anyway, so I show up and I go, look at the last couple of years.
No one shared this with you at the barbecue, yeah.
Go and look at the last couple of years. This gold mine used to be a pharmaceuticals company 10 years ago. Oh, I didn't know that. How do you check that? Just scroll. So research. Just look at it before you're going to throw your money at it. It's not a sports bet account. So just have a bit of due diligence when you're going investing.
Because I think I wrote a blog post once. I'm pretty sure I've got a blog post about how finances and fat loss are very similar. And I do have this strong opinion that they do sort of correlate, right? Like if you want to lose fat, playing the short game is going to be great, but in return, there's going to be a backlash of some description. If someone loses 5 or 10 kilos in 4 weeks, you're probably going to gain that weight back pretty fast. And I figure finances will be the same. You make, again, using cryptocurrencies. I don't think any of us are anti-cryptos. We're just like, hang on a minute, like, don't tie up $100,000 in cryptos right at this point, because if you want to tie up $100,000, maybe do that in something a bit more tangible that isn't going to be belly up in. And there's probably people who will watch this on YouTube and be all like, you don't fucking know. It's like, well,
okay.
I mean, look, to be fair, if we all had to put enough money into cryptocurrency 10 years ago, we would all be laughing at this point. But there are also cryptocurrencies that have busted. They can still continue to bust. That are not doing that. But that's not what we're talking about here. Yep. We're back to like how finances and fat loss or fitness in general is very much the same thing, right? Yep. Like if you are constantly attending classes, doing the programming without trying to take shortcuts, you're going to develop a better fitness portfolio. Yep. And in my opinion, and clearly yours as well, because we've spoken about it a fair bit, and you're basically who I take most of my advice off, is financials are the same. You know, do something that seems tangible, that's a long-term goal. You know, at 37 years old, I'm better to look at what's going to happen when I'm 67 than what's going to happen when I'm 40.
Yep, definitely. And I think the term you were talking about before was diversification on that 100 grand. So the 100 grand, you're not going to just place it in one, what we call asset class. You're going to move it around different areas, and you're going to get advice on how to do that and move it around and get the best return on it. But I guess that's the one point that we make. The other point is, as well, is, go through the process and listen to someone, ask questions as well. I think that's probably pretty important. But consistency. So like the same thing with, you have a regular training day, you go each day to your sessions, you do X amount of sessions a week, and you see the results. The same thing with money. If you train yourself to, I don't know, pay off your mortgage in a slightly higher increment than you are at the moment, that will benefit you in the future for diversifying your investments as well. So it's all about that consistent thing, not just throwing one lump sum at it and hoping for the best. It's doing something consistency. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
fitness and finance.
Not making yourself broke to try and pay a mortgage in 7 years if you're literally just loaned against, you know, if they told you could have 500,000 and you're like, cool, we've just bought a house for 500,000. You're like, you know, your living arrangements, like they're talking higher. Yeah. I've had that conversation with a few people before where they say like, I really want to double down on my mortgage. And I'm like, what effect is that going to have on your lifestyle? I don't care. I just don't want to pay a mortgage. I understand you don't want to pay a mortgage, but you know, you're talking a 30-year spread. You want to try and get it down to a 10-year goal, and that's cool, and I get that. But for what? Fights with your missus.
It's what the trade-off is as well. Like if you don't have a tangible goal in place, there's no point going, I don't want a mortgage, I'm just going to pay it off and done. Like it doesn't make any sense. But if you have a tangible goal saying, I want to, if I'm 40 years old, I want to retire at 55. Right, I've got a 30-year mortgage. So then maybe I have to make some plans or make some provisions or trade-offs on what.
I figure you hear that shit more than people would love to admit that. Like, I want to be retired by 55. What for? So then I can travel. What for?
It's a trade-off.
Though. Yeah, 100%. What do you have to yeah. Like, well, if I don't have a mortgage, then I can travel at 55. Why can't you travel at 40? Like instead of doubling down. Have you ever read the book? I can't remember who wrote it, but it's called Die with Zero.
No.
I
would like to have a look.
Get back to that. Yeah, I'll send you the copy. I know his name. I do know his name. It might come back to me. It might come to me very shortly. Feel free to comment below if you know what book I'm talking about. It's Die with Zero, and he literally says that. He's like, everybody does this future projection of when I'm 50, when I'm 60, when I'm whatever, and he's like, and it's called Die with Zero purely off the fact of his whole process is like, the odds of you dying tomorrow are minimal. Like it's very small. So you can't live your life like I could die tomorrow because that's stupid.
Yeah.
But he's like, but don't live your life like you're going to do the thing when the thing's done.
Yep, okay.
And I've always thought that, like, it's like, again, back to that. It's like, well, when I'm 55, I'll go traveling. Okay, well, why instead of double downing on your mortgage? Even though you might pay less interest to the bank, I get that part. But instead of paying double the mortgage to cut it in half, why don't you put that half somewhere else? Then you can go traveling in a year.
Yep.
And even though your mortgage will be like,
or
that's a complete
or shift that mortgage and like get that debt. This is a bit more technical, and this is general advice.
Yeah,
personal advice here. But
I'm purely giving life advice now, and Gav is giving not professional financial advice.
This is just general nature advice. I have to give you a disclaimer. Yeah. But if you can shift that debt from mortgage debt to investment debt, that's when it becomes better debt. And if you want a consult, just let me know.
Yeah.
There's the plug.
I know, yeah. But I just hear that shit all the time. Like, people say that stuff, and I'm like, why are you? Nothing shits me more on this planet than people in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know, like I have this thing. It's like the any given Tuesday. Like, I'd rather people wake up and every day be like a Tuesday, right? Be like, you know how you probably get this. Like, you know, you do a 9:15 class, right? So instead of being the financial guy who goes to work at 6 and leaves at 7, you know, 11-hour day, It's how about we live a lifestyle and then let's work until we're like a little bit further along. Again, everybody wants to be retired by 40. Why? Well, like
That's just boring.
well, it's not even that. Like, you clearly fucking hate your job. Like, you clearly don't want to be living the life that you live. If you wake up every day being like, I don't want to do this today, you need to change something. And I don't understand why people, living in Bustleton, that is exactly the whole point of why people live here. It's why we live here.
It's lifestyle.
Why would you live here? Otherwise, live in Perth.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And I think that's part of the 9:15 aspect is I like to be able to balance drop my kids to school.
Yeah.
Managing my diary, my day, working around my clients after hours if I have to, but it's majesty of life. That's kind of the thing that I value most from a wealth perspective is having time to have majesty of life and enjoy all those things.
Yeah, it'd be funny, right? Like, cracks me up, and I get it. People want to leave the winter area to go to the summer area, but like, if you want to pay to live in a caravan park for 6 weeks and go to Exmouth every year, you could just go live in Mandalay for 6 weeks, and still sort of, or why don't you just go to work for 2 or 3 hours in the day over that winter period, or sleep in and do it blows my mind that everyone does that, but again, it's a lifestyle thing, and I'm not having to dig at anybody. Everyone lives their own lives and stuff. Yeah. But I do. I'm like, do we remember? I think we all forget what Perth's like. You've been doing some trips back and forth.
I've been doing a lot of back and forth.
And then you remember, you're like, fuck, this is why I don't live here anymore, because it takes me 15 minutes to do it. Like, you live right next door to here. I live right next door to here. We can be here in 6 minutes. And then you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go to the gym in Perth. And you're like, well, that's a 20-minute drive, even though it's probably just as close.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Crazy. So when you started at VSC, when did you move? How long have you been down south, actually?
So I've been down south since August 2022.
Yep.
So we're coming on 2.5 years now.
Cool.
And I joined VSC the beginning of 2023. So it would have been January 2023.
Did you train somewhere like this before? Had you done this before?
Here. No. So I'd never done strength and conditioning training. I've done a little bit of sporadic gym training, but I was a yoga teacher prior to.
That's true.
Joining.
Yeah,
so
I
was just doing lots and lots of yoga.
Yep.
But yeah, background sporting was footy and stuff, all the usual young blokes. And I was a state athlete for a little while in little athletics.
Oh yeah.
When I was younger.
Cool. Yep. And you just, when you moved down, you're like, I want to do some more strength stuff, because your kids would have been young too when you started. How old was
Huddy was just 3 probably, and Georgie would have been only a couple months old.
Baby.
So like, and I had my business partner down here, but didn't really have a huge community of mates in the southwest, like a lot of Perth friends still. But I thought, well, what's a good way to get out and meet some people as well, and get strong at the same time. So that's why I think I saw one of the try it for 7 days.
Oh, yep.
So I just signed up and had a go. Man, my first friend was probably Tom Awkward. I'm still mates with him now. But we laugh about this a certain back squat with 2 grey plates on it, and he chuckles at me like the grey plate specialist. That was my first session, and I've been addicted ever since. Yeah.
Because what was the big thing you were looking at achieving from joining? Like, so you wanted a community of friends that wasn't going to be, I'm just going to figure and then gym people without just going to the gym being by yourself, right?
Yep. I wanted to be stronger and fitter, be able to chase my kids around as they get older, because I've seen in my Perth-based community, I've seen a lot of dads that are just look exhausted, got a bit overweight, got a bit fatter, and like just slower. And as their kids get older, they were just like, "Oh no, I'm too busy. Can't do that." Whereas I don't want to be that dad that's too busy, can't chase my kids, and I will pride myself on trying to be as fit as my children for as long as possible. That's kind of one thing that motivates me.
Because you're an older dad too, right? How old were you when you had Hudson?
Huddy, I was 35 when I had Huddy.
Yep.
And then 37, 38 with Georgie.
Yep.
So I'm 41 next month, guys.
Yep. Because that's something that always it crosses my 100% that crosses my mind. It blows my mind. I guess, same thing. I just don't understand why people be all like, I'm too busy. Like, I get it, but your kids, again, it's a lifestyle thing, right? Finance, you would see that all the time.
Yep.
People chasing the gold carrots, dangling the thing, wanting the biggest stuff, the fastest car. So, I'm completely speculating, but I figure most people get into finance because they watch The Wolf of Wall Street, and then they're like,
there's elements of that for sure.
I could imagine, yeah.
And I mean,
we all want a Margot Robbie. I wouldn't mind, but
in our networks, there's definitely I mean, we call them the finance douches, the ones with and no offense if you are a finance douche out there, whatever, but
I don't think they'll watch
Mercs,
this.
Rolls Royces, all that shit. Like, I don't know. I think wealth is silent, in my opinion, from what we've seen. We don't need to drive the flashy cars. Time is probably the biggest financial flex that you can ever do. Like, if you can be there for your children, you can go to their assemblies whenever they win an award. You can help out for them. Man, that's the biggest financial flex, in my opinion.
I 100% agree. Yep. Yeah. And it is interesting though, right? Like you just got to look around and see a lot of parents that just are not having that same view. I mean, I have that exact same thing. It's like, I think I might have told a story on here or not, but one of my biggest fears is that I can't get into the slides or the playground equipment at like McDonald's or something like that. Yeah, you might have had this with Georgie. I had this with Brooklyn the other week. So we went to McDonald's. So Maddie works on the Friday afternoon. So I don't want to sit at home with the kids. So sometimes I just take them to McDonald's and then I let them play in the playground.
Yep.
The last time I went, we haven't gone since this happened because, again, my biggest fear is that I can't get into the thing to pull them out.
Right.
Because it's hard to do. It's super difficult to do.
Those tubes, yeah.
So I always think if I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm flexible enough, like I'm strong enough, if anything happens, I can get in there. Well, it turns out apparently I can't because Brooklyn climbed to the top of the vast McDonald's playground. So inside of it, but for the record, not on the outside. And he like managed to get to the top. And I was like, I can't get up. And I tried to get up there to get him out because then he starts crying. He can't get out.
Oh, yep.
So I went in one way, and then to get around, to get up, you've got to fit in a gap. I don't even know how 12-year-olds fit in there. Like, there's this gap this big.
Yep.
So you got to fit in a gap that way. You got to go in, and then you got to come back, like Constantine yourself in to get back up.
Yep.
I couldn't do it, so I had to send Lakin in, and I had to climb up the slide to then get to a position where I could reach my arm around to pull him out.
Yep.
And then basically I had to drag him through the whole play area to get him out. At that moment, within 5 seconds, I messaged Cam Embry and I'm like, you will never guess what I just had to do. And I want to know, how do most dads think they're going to do this? Like, does it not even cross their minds that a kid stuck on the top of a playground, you're not going to be able to get him down?
You're going to have to go from the outside.
Right. I was like, do we have to pull? Part of me, fuck that. Part of me was like, do we have to pull this playground apart? And then lucky I had Lakin. So Lakin helped guide him.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Man.
But what if it again, I don't know how some parents don't consider just simple stuff. Yeah. Tying shoelaces.
I had this thing of, and I haven't had it happen yet, but like if one of my kids gets stuck up in a tree, like how I would like climb up the tree and try and like put it on one arm and climb back down, but I'd probably make it work. Somewhere.
I don't know if you do, but do you like, I don't know. I mean, I've never, maybe we're just fear mongers, but like to me, I agree with that as well. Like, what if my kids get stuck up a tree? Like, do I just have to tell them to jump? Do I just have to tell them like,
I'm sure you've had it before, like out on a walk with the kids on the bike or like, you know, you just go on a longer than usual walk and they go, nah, Dad, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And Huddy would be 20-ish kilos, 25 kilos. And I've had to throw him on the shoulders and hike him all the way back. And you know, that's practical. Like it's
or worse when they say they don't want to ride their bike anymore,
and
then you've got to put them
and carry the bike as well. So
correct.
All those farmers carries.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we are those, I agree. To me, it's the number one prerogative of a parent is to be there. But to go back, you know, they're the things that money can buy whatever you need to fix that problem, right? Like, I guess if you are not physically active, you're not going on long walks, so you don't have to do something stupid like carry them, because you're not putting that time aside, you're not putting that effort in. There's so many factors that go along with that we don't have to deal with in a facility like this. I think all of the parents that you would speak to would be all like, sure, I mean, I get that, I totally understand, or you know, in my opinion, that's good parenting. It's like part of 101 of you know, not putting yourself first, putting your family first, and then unfortunately that means that you have to just put that time in. But again, you're not sucking the time out anywhere else. unless you're really sucking that time out of somewhere else.
And I think I've seen it in the finance game. People can work long hours and sort of forget about the family. And yeah, the money comes rolling in, but again, your children are only this little. This
Yeah,
time,
but
so you can't get it back.
They think they're doing it for their family, but then they wonder why their wife's. I'm only speculating, but
Yeah, no.
then you end up with a wife who's packed her bags or tells you you're not doing good
Yep.
enough, or you wonder why you haven't had sex for a month. It's because your belly's got fat, you stink all the time.
Yep.
You're having beers with the boys, and then all of a sudden you're wondering why. I have that conversation with a lot of people all the time.
Yep.
I'm like, I get it. Like, as a man's prerogative to be strong, fit, healthy, thoughtful.
Yep.
Again, you can have beers with the boys, but if you're doing that every night,
Yeah.
if you're finishing work and she's got to do all the kids go to bed at 7 o'clock every night, or
Man.
you can't, you don't help with the morning routine or the nighttime routine, but you're bringing home, 6 figures a year. I doubt it'd be
Who
6 figures,
cares?
but yeah, it doesn't make any
Like,
sense, right?
no one really cares. Like it's honestly some of the best, like some of the wildest times in the morning are like that morning routine before school. Like it can be hectic and crazy, but it's also pretty good fun when you reflect back on it. Like it's, yeah,
That's a short period too,
of
right?
course it is.
Yeah. I mean, what, Georgie, we're going to be 3 soon?
She'll be 3 soon, so she'll
Right.
start kindy.
And then Gav will be home all morning. Kindy off she goes.
Mm-hmm.
What else was I going to ask? I don't know. We've sort of covered off that. So, when did you stop doing little athletics or team sports? Were you still doing that in Perth? Where did you guys live in Perth?
So
you were north of the river, weren't
I was
you?
north of the river.
Yeah.
I grew up around Joondalup, that area. Went to
Oh,
school.
north.
Yep. Like Stark territory. Yeah. So I went to school around that way. Played footy through high school from about 13 all the way through to 17, 18. And then I stopped playing footy because I was like, as like most 18-year-olds, just wanted to go out partying and doing stupid shit. And then got fat and just like literally stopped doing sport.
Was that when you got into banking?
No,
Or you were already in banking?
I got into banking a little bit after that. Yeah. Little athletics was up to about 16 years old, so I did that.
So
From
you were in high school,
all high school sort of stuff, and loved running, jumping, throwing stuff. Bit of an all rounder. But then team sport wise, I didn't play footy until I was 22, and I played for a couple of seasons, and then I haven't done footy since. And I played a little bit of basketball down here, but not really much else other than that.
It's hard when I didn't play football. I played football all the way through high school.
Yep.
And then basically once I moved to Perth, it was like I became an aerobics instructor anyway. So it was like, as much as I want to, I was physically active all the time. Like, that were back in the days where we used to teach 30 classes a week physically.
Man, that's a lot.
Now I do 17 coaching classes in a week, and I'm like, I've had such a big week.
Yep.
Written a couple of blog posts. I'm so busy, man. I've got no time for anything. So I totally understand that. And then, so when you put on a lot of weight, was that through your financial career? And then, because I can't even remember how big you were when you started here. I don't think you were big.
I wasn't big. I was doing a lot of yoga before that. So like 18, 19, I was a mature age student. So I went to uni at 21 and then finished uni 24, 25, went to this recruitment gig in mining executive recruitment for a couple of years. And then I went into banking when I was 27, 28.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a bit later.
A little bit later.
Yeah.
That's kind of when the weight sort of stuck around because it wasn't very active back then.
And you're in your late 20s and your early 30s. Yep. Yeah, it's easy to drink beers with boys. You get a missus, you get comfortable.
Yeah, Belinda and I started dating when I was 28, 29. So it was like, fell into that trap. I think where my fitness journey probably changed was when we got into yoga together.
Yep.
So I started doing yoga back in 2017, 2018. I was a 33-year-old man back then. Yeah.
Still living up in Joondalup area?
No, Belinda and I bought a house out in Joondalup, Chewett Hill, that area, so a bit more closer to the city. So do you know where that is?
There's Charles Street is what I'm
Charles
thinking.
Street. So Charles Street just turns into Wanneroo Road at Dog Swamp. We lived in there for 10 years before we moved down here.
That's pretty close to the city, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it was good. Like when I was working in the city, I used to get the bus just straight from the front of our house in 10 minutes.
My first strip club I ever went to is on Charles Street, near there.
The
Old used
not
to
the
be
Mighty
the old.
Quinn.
Nah, it used to be what it used to be called. It was in Balcatta, so not far from Chewett Hill.
Oh, the Odin.
Nah, it was called. This guy, he knows more than I do. What do you say? It used to be called the Hideaway.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I don't think that even exists anymore.
No, it was like no, I wouldn't. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not allowed to go to strip clubs anymore. I don't bother. It was like this weird thing that yeah. Anyway, I remember because I used to work for Zest back in the old days, and they used to have the Chewett Hill Club, and like we could never go there because it was a women's only gym.
Curves.
No, it turned into a Curves later, I think, in Chewett Hill, but it was a Zest, so it was like when Body Club turned into Zest, turned into Good Life, over the span of a 10-year cycle. But yeah, I used to always like Mirrabooka Zest would be where we'd do all our meetings.
Okay.
So but then you had to go up Charles Street would be how you get there.
Got ya.
So you had to go through Chewett Hill to get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Chewett Hill is completely transformed nowadays.
I could imagine it would be not even the same. Man, we used to live in Canning Vale, and that place is not even the same. I got lost in Coburn last time I was there.
This is where there was the Perth divide, and I'm not sure if any of the Perthies that have moved down, but it's the north-south. Like all these suburbs, the South River, we're like, where the fuck is that? I don't know what that is. Whereas in the north, you'd be hearing suburbs, where's that? I don't know what that is.
No. Well, I was only, because I was in fitness and I used to train at the different ones, I was okay. So like, because they had one in Joondalup, they had them in Kingsway, they had, not the Chewett, because the Chewett Hill one was a women's one, so I was never allowed to go there, but they had Mirrabooka, so, you'd work at the north ones, and then, but I was south of the river. I lived in Fremantle and Canning Vale, and so I was always at Bibra Lake and Rockingham and stuff like that.
Okay.
But there was always a north-south divide. I had a mate who lived in Greenwood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then, but yeah, he'd be all, he always made a joke that if you're going to his place, you had to pack a lunch.
He was probably my homie, man, because that was our hood. A lot of my mates were in Greenwood too. We went to our school, Marta Davis.
That place has changed a lot too, right? I mean, all of those suburbs are, in the last 10 years, not even recognisable. Crazy.
Like, I mean, the amount of... It's turned a bit more affluent, I think, as well. Like, it's just... Perth property prices have just gone a bit ridiculous, and that's kind of what's...
Well, mining's had a big part of that, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think mining has a big part of everything that we manage here.
Yep.
I think we were, like, in COVID, it was because of mining that we were able to stay... Everyone was able to stay afloat.
Yep.
Until now, definitely our high housing prices are purely based on that. I think my dad said the other day, my uncle sold a house in Mount Barker for $470,000. Yep. You don't buy a house in Mount Barker, you're talking 50 k's north of Albany, in a town that has nothing there. You're not buying a house for $470,000 unless you work FIFO, because I don't understand what else they're doing. Like in the old days, my uncle was a shearer, but farms needed bigger shearing. Like shearing teams were more prominent back then. Now, I'm going to assume shearing teams aren't as prominent.
I wouldn't say so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't met a shearer for a long time.
No, neither. No.
I mean, I don't kick it in the shearing circles, so I don't. But I was just like, housing. Yeah, again, back to the financial things, like housing prices. People are doing that sort of thing, and then that's going to affect all of these suburbs.
Of course,
people buying property, subdividing can do that. Boom, 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 setting themselves up, doubling down to try and pay their mortgages off, and so on and so forth. Yeah, a lot of people need a lot of financial advice. Do you know anywhere where we can get some financial advice? Oh,
let's have a chat.
You see how we did that?
Oh, that was a nice segue. I like that.
Yeah. That was cool. Well, I think that'll do us for that was cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Do you have anything you want to? I don't think we need to close out with anything. I think it's pretty straightforward.
No, I mean, I appreciate the chat and appreciate the time, everyone. And yeah, if anyone wants to have a yarn, I know most of you, I guess. But yeah, come and say good day.
Cool.
Cheers.
All right, episode 5 done.
Thank you.